rough loss to Western Virginia. Aztecs couldn't really pull it together. Ended with West Virginia beating us 50-72. Kind of a rough game. It's going to be a little bit of a rough podcast, but let's go ahead and start it out with opening thoughts. David, just give us general thoughts of the game.
Besides the fact that we played horrible, as we were talking about before we started our podcast / video session, the only positive thing would be the free throw shooting.
Yeah, and that's an interesting positive for SDSU. Normally, free throw shooting is definitely not something we're proud of.
And if you look at the stats, we made 26 of our points from the field, and then the other 24 came from free throw shooting. So I don't know the last time SDSU had at least 50% of their points come from free throw shooting.
Yeah, it's it was definitely an interesting game for us. A lot to learn from this game, hopefully for the guys. Never really played an opponent that has as much intensity as they did. Most of the time I was bragging just yesterday on our podcast about how athletic this team was and how we can rival anyone in the nation. And we kind of had a taste of our own medicine today with athleticism and, just aggression. Like you said, one of the only positives we can talk about is free throw shooting. Shot 75%, 24 points, 24 out of 32 free throws attempted we made. That's a positive. That's great. Like you said, only 26 points from the floor. Let's just, I guess we can just get started right away with this offense. What do you think was happening on the floor tonight with the field goal percentage?
I have no clue. I think they were trying to rush it because they had so many issues inbounding the ball. They wanted to get ahead of the press, and that really did not work because it made them even sloppier than they already were.
Yeah, I completely agree. Once we got past that full court press and got to where it was just half court D, it was just a typical D. We could have been doing fine, and for some reason we kept pushing it. There was one possession in particular where Shep had the ball, 19 seconds left on the shot clock, and two guys on him just shot up a nasty ball for no reason. There were 19 seconds left, dribble that back out. You had plenty of time to set something else up. The thing I wrote is that they looked scared. They honestly looked scared of West Virginia, and that's something that we definitely can't let happen. We can't let a team like that scare us. The full court press was definitely difficult for us. Definitely hard to inbound the ball, but we could have adjusted to that. It was just once we got in there, we had to find a rhythm, and that was one thing they kept us from doing, was finding any sort of rhythm.
Oh, exactly. If you look at the stats again with the three first-year players being Cheatham, Hemsley, and Malik Pope, all three of them combined for 11 turnovers out of the 21 committed, and that's not good considering Dakari and Zylan both committed 5 turnovers apiece.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you bring up those turnovers, and that was definitely an impact in this game. It was kind of a sloppy game all around for both teams. 21 turnovers for us, 15 for them. But where the real discrepancy comes from is the points off turnovers. You look at our points off turnovers, we had 7 points off turnovers to West Virginia's 30 points off turnovers. There was something about tonight we could not get a basket to land. And I know that one thing we've been talking about is, dribble to the basket, get some points in the paint. And, me and you were talking about earlier, we had 26 points from field goals, and all 26 of those were in the paint. So tonight they were doing what we normally are complaining about, but they couldn't get anything else to fall tonight. Is there anything in their D that you saw that might have been keeping us from doing that?
I'm just going to stay with the whole press issue. We had major issues inbounding, and a ton of the 21 turnovers we committed came off of that. And then with that issue with the man-on-man that they were playing with the press, Again, rushed some of the players. So I think they kind of felt like they had to beat the 4 guys from West Virginia down the court, and that's where they started rushing their shots until they decided to say, hey, we're going to go big. We're getting the other team in foul trouble, like to actually go after the board, which I think they should have started doing a lot earlier because they could have definitely used that foul trouble to their advantage.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. One thing I noticed about this game that is different from most SDSU games is, most of the time it's a sloppy first half, and then, during halftime, Coach Fish talks them into something. They change up some stuff, and second half looks way better. And I think this is the first game that I can remember watching SDSU where they came back second half and actually looked worse than they did in the first half. Here in my notes, I have a lot of notes on the first half. I have all the stats written down. I had a lot of things done. And second half, I started watching, and I was just so dumbfounded by how the team was playing. I took no notes on the second half. It was a sloppy nightmare. Could not figure out their full court press. Got to give it to West Virginia. They were amazing with how persistent they were up until the very last seconds of the game. Not giving up on that. Like someone posted in the official, SDSU basketball page that, their coach was coaching like they had a 2-point lead throughout the entire game. Those guys didn't give up, and I'll give it up to them. But, I figured during halftime something would have happened. There would have been a talk going on where the guys could have figured out how to deal with that a little better. And, I feel like second half was a much sloppier half for them than the first. And I think that's a first for me witnessing an SDSU. Any comments on that?
Not really. I don't really agree with you. I don't think it was that bad. I think the first half was a little bit worse because at least in the second, they finally figured out, we can't have the small Trey Kell trying to inbound the ball. We need to have someone taller do it. So they got a little bit better in terms of inbounding, but that's basically it, which is one of the bones I have to pick with the whole game, which is why would you not go to a big lineup? So I would have loved to see Pope run the point and then put Zylan, Winston, Chol, and Spencer in there because the only good announcing that the Fox Sports 1 announcers did is when they were giving previous background history about how teams that have gone big have been able to beat West Virginia. And that's something that we didn't even attempt to do, which I think would have helped deal with the press a lot easier.
I agree that there should have been some changes up in there. You bring up Pope, and I hate to do this. I bring him up every time I talk about him. Just another ugly game for Pope tonight. 0 for 4 from field goal. 3 of those were 3-point attempts. He had 5 points, all 5 of them from free throws. My first thoughts were, he had 2 really, really clean looks in the first half and missed both of them. And I've been saying it since the beginning, and even the announcers were saying it seems like he's settling for the 3 when he could be doing so much more. That he needs to build his confidence with maybe mid-range jumpers, get those more consistent, and then start backing up and adding a little more space in there. The one thing I know I talk a lot of bad stuff on Pope, and I know he has the talent and the athleticism. I hope he can get it together. But the one good thing I did see from tonight from Pope, he was playing with a lot more energy than he normally does. He was trying to attack the basket a little more, and I hope he can figure out that he doesn't have to settle for that 3 all the time. I know last time Ben was talking about how he probably has a lot of pressure on him, being the go-to guy for scoring, and I hope he can shake off that pressure and start building his confidence. It was another rough game for him.
He did better though defensively. If you look at the stats with the rebounds, how he was tied for first in total rebounds on the team with Spencer. They only had 5 apiece, but that's better than nothing because at least he's playing defense, which isn't a total waste. But as you said, he was 0 for 4 from the floor, 0 for 3 from 3. He made 5 of his 6 free throws, but he needs to do a lot better. than what he's doing. But I think he'll grow into it. But all in all, everyone had a bad game. He did have more rebounds and points than Winston did tonight, though. So that was a improvement.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up Winston, and the last night and a couple games ago was the only 2 times in my career of watching Winston Shepard where I've wanted him to have the ball in his hands. And tonight he was trying to get that same fire lit, and he just could not. He couldn't get it to work. 1 for 7 from the floor, 2 for 2 free throws, only 4 points on the night, 2 rebounds, 1 assist. That's not the Winston Shepard that we need.
No.
Me seeing those last couple games where he has been stepping up, it's encouraging. Now it's just time for him to be more consistent. And speaking of that 1 assist from Winston, that was 1 of 3 Aztec assists on the night, compared to West Virginia's 12. I feel like there needs to be something done there and something said about that. It's a team game, and I don't know if we were setting up guys and stuff just wasn't falling, but there's got to be more easy looks like that coming out of assists, and I feel like our team needs to really grow on that.
That's been a big problem the whole year with the assist to turnover ratio. Because before the game earlier today, when I was writing the game preview, I was listening to an interview with the assistant coach for West Virginia, and they brought up the fact that SDSU's turnovers to assist ratio was really bad. And I thought that was pretty interesting. And tonight it just got even worse.
Yeah, that's not a great thing to hear from your opposing team, that they know how terrible your turnover to assist ratio is.
3 assists, 3 for 21.
Yeah, so, and I mean that brings up an interesting point that West Virginia knew that our turnovers were pretty bad, so obviously they were attacking that, and it worked out for them tonight. The announcers were saying how Richmond was able to keep it a close game, and maybe Richmond was underrated. And I think what the other announcer was saying was, no, Richmond's not underrated. It was they were playing a lot more ferocious tonight. West Virginia was against us and really attacking us on the full court press. So I think they realized that that was our weakness, and they really attacked it.
Well, I definitely agree with you on that one. And this tape's going to be floating around the Mountain West, so they'll all know the best way to beat us is going to be the pressure.
Yeah, absolutely. Another interesting point that I see from this, and I'm not sure if my facts are 100% straight on this, but I feel like this is the first game where the opposing team's bench has outscored our bench 20-10. I feel like in every other game that I've watched, our bench has outscored the bench. Again, not 100% sure, so don't quote me on that. But there was just some kind of funk in the air tonight with the Aztecs. Something was not going according to what it is. You look at that. You look at points off turnovers; they're 30 to our 7. You look at offensive rebounds; they're 14 to our 3. I mean, typically our offensive boards are what it's what we do, and for some reason West Virginia was just able to kill us on it tonight.
Exactly. I just really have no clue what to say. As we were saying earlier, at least we know how to shoot free throws.
Yeah, and I mean that's something that's not normally a strength for us. So I'm glad we were able to figure that out tonight.
Last 2 games, so Cal and West Virginia combined, SDSU was 46 for 60 in free throws, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, we were absolutely horrible.
Yeah, and looking at the stat sheet right now, I'm realizing that the only stats that we led West Virginia in are free throw percentage. We were at 75% to their 67, and blocking, which we need to give a shout out to Skylar Spencer. He stepped up today. He really he was giving it his all on defense, and had a career high 7 blocks in this game.
Puts him 1 away from tying the Mountain West record for most blocks in a career.
All right. Well, hey, that's huge too. But yeah, earlier we were talking about Pope going 0 for 3 from 3-point land, and looking at the stat sheet, we shot 0% from 3 points. We went 0 for 9, and we're constantly saying to go to the paint, and these guys are going to the paint. But if they're not going to the paint, I feel like they don't always have to shoot those threes. They're mid-range jumpers that they can go for. They can shoot some, longer twos and try to get something to fall. But these guys just aren't. I don't know. I feel like our team, like the announcer said of Pope, but I feel like it's a team-wide thing. They settle for the three way more often than they should. In my eyes right now, I feel like only one guy, maybe two, should really be shooting from the three, and I think that's Dakari Allen and Trey Kell. They've been hitting the threes fairly consistently as long as they have a decent look. And, tonight that didn't work out for anyone, obviously. We shot 0 for 9, but, some guys are just getting the ball and shooting the three. Winston shot an ugly three tonight too, and it's I get that he wants the Fire to start and lead, but we need to start settling for more inside shots.
And it really looked like the team was out of it, because some people who I follow on Twitter were tweeting photos of Malik Pope not even paying attention during the timeout. And you could see players hanging their heads, and they just really looked out of it the second half, and they looked gassed. And it was pretty interesting to see Fisher have to go to the bench and play 10 guys today when he played 8 against Cal. So I think he's still trying to figure out the best match, and I was amazed to even see walk-on Ben Perez get a lot of playing time and Darrell Williams to get some playing time, because Williams really didn't do anything except commit 3 turnovers and 3 fouls. He didn't shoot it. He didn't shoot a free throw. He didn't get any rebounds. He had 0 assists, 0 steals, 0 blocks, 3 turnovers, and 3 fouls. Like, to me, that's not even worth putting him on the court if he's just.
And Darrell has been playing. He's been playing better in past games, but obviously tonight wasn't his night. This team was just tough. It was a tough matchup, and it was. Even I was sitting here going, how the hell do we break this full court press? Like they were ferocious, and even the announcers were saying, that if they keep that up with that kind of intensity, it's going to be a tough team to beat, and they're going to go far. And I hope they do. Honestly, it'll make us look a whole lot better. Because after watching that, it was a lot of people were saying it was just hard to watch, man. It was hard to swallow. People were like, well, it's time to grab another drink because this is going down the toilet. And, it was definitely a rough game to watch. And, I hope that Fish can get some lessons out of this and really give it to the team and help them figure something out for when we face a team that's as athletic as this. And, they're definitely going to face something like this again because, like you said, this tape is going to be available for not only the entire Mountain West, but any team that's ever going to face us. So they're definitely going to try to use that to their advantage, and we're going to have to figure out a way to really stop that.
Like, the fouls are absolutely crazy tonight. If you look at the stat sheet, every single player but one committed a foul who played. So that's like 19 guys that played, and only Ben Perez was the only one who did not commit a foul.
Yeah, and that was also mentioned by the announcers, and I kind of agree with them. They were saying that basically with the way that West Virginia was playing, you could pretty much call a foul on every single one of their defensive plays. But because they're so deep, basically what they did was just keep doing what they were doing, let their bench do it, and kind of put the pressure on the refs, making them realize that, hey, they're going to play like this all night. We can't really call everything, and they had to kind of back off of them, which
at certain times they didn't even call fouls that should have been called.
Oh, and at certain times they were calling fouls that were terrible. The one that comes to my mind is that charging foul on Zylan that was the guy wasn't even set. His feet were shuffling around. He was doing a little dance underneath the basket, and somehow they called it a charging foul on Zylan. I was completely taken aback. Like, are you kidding me?
Like, there were so many bad calls, non-calls, stuff that was called that shouldn't have been a foul. It was, to me, that was a bad officiating crew, but the players still needed to just keep going, and I think they got a little frustrated due to that, and then having to deal with the press. Like, we never play any team that presses that crazy that at least I can remember. from being an Aztec fan for like the past 7 years. I don't think we've ever played a team that's been that freaking crazy with the press. And
Yeah,
that game
absolutely.
kind of
They
bored
were
me to
killing it on
death.
the press.
Like that was boring.
Yeah, no, that press was definitely intense. I mean, I've never seen a team do a full court press that hard for the entire game. I mean, it was insane. It was definitely insane, and just seeing how hard they struggled just to inbound the ball every single possession. It was, I can see how that could definitely be not only physically but mentally draining for them, trying to figure out what they need to do to make it work.
And then adding the announcers in, they weren't any better either with their stupid football calls, trying to tell everyone, oh, like this is rare. It's like a triple option. And like that's not rare. We have multiple teams in our conference that run it. Like they were so bad. I had to turn off the volume and turn on Uncle Teddy because I just could not stand those announcers. Like they had no clue. Then the one idiot was trying to make a joke about how hard of a schedule West Virginia has upcoming. And then he's like, yeah, well, the only hard team San Diego State has until conference is Biola. And I'm like, yo, give me a break. Biola is horrible. Like, I don't think you know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Kansas and Long Beach State are the two hardest that we have until conference starts. So, like, I was all over the horrible announcing because of how bad we were playing. It just made it even worse.
yeah. All right, well let's try to focus on a couple players tonight. Leading scorer Hemsley, 4 for 7 from the floor. He made 4 of our 13 from the floor. 6 or 7 free throws, 4 rebounds. Kid's putting on a good show. He's playing well. He's he's got my vote. I do appreciate him. I think he's an upcoming leader for the Aztecs. I think he's already, as a true freshman, really kind of taken that role to heart. Any thoughts on Hemsley from you, sir?
Nope. I'm just excited with his point scoring. He played pretty good. It looked like at certain points he was the only person who was like man enough to actually attack the rim, to go after the points in the paint and to drive and then to get the foul called. So I was really excited with that, and he played pretty good against a really good opponent. So I'm excited to see what he can do this year. But the one thing he should try and cut down are his 4 turnovers and then the 3 personal fouls, even though I thought one of them called on him was kind of BS. But besides that, I think he played pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he plays well pretty much every game. He still makes those freshman mistakes, and they're frustrating. In the beginning of the season, I was a little more lenient. Now I'm starting to be a little harsher on him. He's had a couple games for experience now. He's a little more, a little wet behind the ears now, so he's ready to go. And there was one possession, 29.9 seconds left in the first half, and he committed a foul that did not need to be committed. And even Fish, they put the camera on him, and you could read his lips saying, "Come on, Jeremy, get your head in the game." He was definitely upset with him, and those freshman mistakes, those freshman jitters have got to start fading away. He can't let the pressure and let the excitement and the nervousness, I guess, kind of take over him and take away from his performance, because he's performing well. He's scoring well. 4 rebounds, and our top rebounders were Pope and Shep with Pope and Spence, with 5. And Hemsley comes in with 4, and he's our point guard. Like that's doing a pretty good job. So I really think he's going to be a great performer. He's going to do good things. He's just got to kind of shake off that freshman vibe.
Exactly.
All right. Another point that I wanted to bring up was, we shot 34% from the floor to their 44%. But because of that full court press and because of we had 21 turnovers to their 15. So it was a sloppy game all around. It's not like we were incredibly sloppy and they were clean as can be. But even with us having comparable turnovers and everything else, we only attempted 38 shots from the field, where they attempted 62 shots from the field. I'm not really sure where that came from. I don't know why they had so many more attempts than we had. I don't know if it was just like I honestly I don't know if it must have been the offensive boards. I mean, you look at their offensive boards to ours, and they had 14 to our 3, so I guess it was just putbacks or a lot of them. I don't know any comments on that from you, David.
Nope.
All right.
Just looking at the stats, trolling through Twitter, looking at the SDSU hashtag. The most interesting thing that I've been able to find on here that goes with what you're saying is the amount of points that the Mountaineers scored total were 11 more than the amount of total shots that we took, which is pretty pathetic.
Yeah, that's
which is really bad.
Yeah.
But it goes
I don't even know what to say about that.
The shots.
Yeah. So like I said, if there's one good thing to take out of this, Spence had a career high block, 7 blocks in a game. Like you said, he's 1 away from being the Mountain West all-time block leader. And you know, a lot of times we're bitching about them getting in the paint. They got to the paint tonight because all 26 of our points were from the paint. But 26 points in the paint doesn't win you a game. And free throw percentage, you know, we had 24 points. 24 of our 50 were from free throws. I don't know. You want to get to closing thoughts? I guess we'll kind of wrap it up here a little bit.
I'm just pissed off with the coaching staff, which some people are, some people aren't. I just really don't think we had that big of a game plan put in place. You could say that's because they didn't have enough time. You could say they did have enough time, but I just really think that we should have gone with a bigger lineup. As I argued for a little bit earlier in the podcast, that putting Trey Kell out there and trying to have him inbound when he's really short is not the brightest idea when you have the tall West Virginia guys over there. So maybe they should have put Shepard and let him inbound before they put Dakari out there. But besides that, you really can't complain. I think we got beat in every aspect of the game except for blocks and free throw shooting. There's really not much else that you can say.
Yeah, and you know, I'm not saying that the coaching staff is perfect. I'm definitely saying they probably should have done a little more tonight. But my motto is in Fish we trust. I like Fish. You know, he was there yesterday. I saw pictures and stuff of him and some of the leaders on the team sitting and watching West Virginia play yesterday. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to watch that game. You know, Turkey Day and everything. I was kind of busy, but from what I've heard, it was a completely different team that came out tonight. So, you know, maybe, you know, we definitely should have seen a bigger change in the half. I think the coaching staff should have maybe had a little more intense of a talk. But, yeah, there needed to be something that happened, and I think the coaching staff probably put in the time to examine the team and see what needed to happen. And I think West Virginia coach definitely outcoached our staff tonight and just completely changed up what they normally do. And, you know, really stuck it to us. Like I said, I haven't really had much watching West Virginia, so I don't know how they normally play. This is what I've heard, that it was a completely different team this game. But, yeah, our guys definitely have some lessons to learn from this one. They're definitely not used to being outperformed athletically, and this team is running up and down the court. Definitely not used to having their full court press, you know, like that against them. Inbounding was I don't have the stat on how many points West Virginia made off of inbound turnovers, but it was definitely a lot. 2 5-second clock violations. You know, there's a lot to learn from this game. Like a lot of people are saying, you know, UConn won a national championship with 10 losses in the normal season. Yeah, seasons aren't determined in November. They're determined in March. So, you know, the team's got a lot of growing to do. Hoping we can really step up and learn a lesson from this one and move forward, because we're definitely going to have to learn something from this, because like you said, people out there are going to have this tape. They're going to see what worked against us, and they're going to use it against us. So we need to learn something from it. Anything else you want to add before we close it up?
Not really. I just don't know the last time we've lost this many games at the start of a season. It's got to be a while, and Aztec fans have been really spoiled because of that, but we still need to come out and support the team. After the loss to Arkansas Pine last week or 2 weeks ago, the fan support was really horrible. Like, no one showed up to Viejas, and that's not acceptable. We need our fans to show up and support the team. Even if they lose, they're going to have growing pains. We were starting 3 freshmen. Now some of them are sitting, but we got to do a better job of supporting the team when they lose.
Absolutely. I completely agree. We need to support our team no matter what. Those growing pains are going to happen. Yeah, we're having a rough start to the season. We got a lot of talent on the team, though, and I think they just need to learn to gel as a team a little better, and they'll start putting up the numbers that we need them to put up. So anyway, guys, this is our end of our podcast for the SDSU versus West Virginia game. If you guys like this, give us a little thumbs up, subscribe to us, and every time we start one of these, we normally give it about 30 minutes once we start it before we actually start broadcasting. It'll send out a notification. You guys can join us in here, actually be on the podcast with us, talk SDSU basketball with us. And even if you don't want to participate, you can come and sit in and watch us do it live. And, there's a Q&As we can do, throw out some polls and see what you guys think about that. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button, and hope to see you next time. Go Aztecs.